Many friends in the room know that I'm a pretty positive guy, but I'm going to take the charge that my old friend Pete has given me and try to depress the hell out of you before the break. So I want you to have three pictures in your mind. And the first picture is a Gartner Magic Quadrant. And we've known here in Silicon Valley that our job, since I first talked my way onto a QA team in 1984 testing Novell's NetWare, that Silicon Valley's job was to automate the tasks in the lower left corner, the activities that are boring and repetitive, and that humans would continually be able to move to the upper right corner and do the stuff that's creative and unique. And that's the story we've told ourselves for a long time. Along comes generative AI, and suddenly it's doing a whole bunch of things that kind of look like creating, that are sort of encroaching in that upper right corner. And so a couple of insights that I want you to take away from that. The first is that robots and software do not take jobs. They don't. They simply automate tasks. It's a human's decision if all of those tasks that are automated add up to a job that goes away, and we can make better decisions. We don't have to decide that that's a discardable human being. The second insight is that if half the innovators in the room, rather than just focusing on building businesses that will automate out those tasks, instead focus on how we help humans to be able to have the superpowers to continually develop new skills and solve new problems, we can avoid the reductionist sort of limited thinking that says this is the only landscape of the kinds of problems we can solve, and we can have an even bigger landscape that we can leverage those AI tools to be able to solve problems we'd never even conceived of before. So that's the first image in your mind, is that not only can we help humans to be able to continually adapt, we can use the new technologies to be able to do that and help them to develop the skills to solve those problems of tomorrow. The second image I want you to have in your mind is of a Venn diagram, just two circles. And the left circle is us, messy, expensive humans, our skills. And the right circle is work demand. Now, this is not a lump of labor and a lump of work. They're constantly changing. We develop new skills. We solve new problems. We're changing human beings. And the work markets change too. But the overlap between those is when people have paid work. And when we decide that there's not enough paid work in a recession or in a global pandemic, and the demand shrinks, this is the story we're telling ourselves about AI, is that automation is going to make the demand shrink. We won't create any new work, and the humans are going to be left to pound digital sand. And so instead, what I want you to be thinking about is that, again, as the people who are the innovators in the room, who are trying to come up with new ways to be able to solve new problems, the challenge of the future is not necessarily that we're going to make that demand shrink. It's mismatches. Right now we have almost 10 million open jobs in the United States, and yet we have 5.6% unemployment. And so there's a mismatch. There's humans that could be doing work, and we could be helping them to be able to solve those problems. And instead what we're doing is we're spending a ton of time saying we envision all those jobs going away. And that's not what history so far has told us, nor is it a law of nature. It's not an inevitable outcome. And then the third picture I want you to have in your mind is of a table. And so the dynamics, when we think of what's going on in Hollywood right now, think of people who work and people who pay for work as being on ends of the table, constantly negotiating, constantly co-creating. And what happens when that table tilts is it gets out of whack. So the reason that 330,000 UPS workers have a contract and half as many SAG-AFTRA and WGA workers don't have a contract is because the table is tilted differently. The UPS workers had more balance and more power, and the SAG-AFTRA workers have the dependency on business models that are much more extractive. So in 2008, when we started SOCAP, Social Capital Markets, we said is a conference where we believed that there was actually opportunity at the intersection of money and meaning. There was an opportunity to build businesses that could do well and that could do good. And that there was actually an opportunity to be able to build a balanced table so there are no negative externalities, one of Silicon Valley's favorite phrases. The impacts on society, the impacts on work, the impacts on humans could actually be factored into the way you design your own business. So if half the innovators in the room decided to build business models that could actually try to help humans to be able to continually adapt to the pace and scale of change, to be able to solve the problems of tomorrow, and their business models required them to have that positive impact in the world, then all of the things I'm trying to depress you about are less likely to happen, and the greater opportunity to be able to have a much more inclusive economy and to be able to deal with the challenges we see when we walk out the door here are going to be potentially solutions that we can be part of. Thank you.